Hello, you wonderful and beautiful listeners. His name is Aaron, and he is the leading cause of gingivitis.
And his name is Tommy, and he still can't believe it's not butter.
And this is the Super Pod Saga. Yay!
Super Pod Saga.
Episode 17 of this journey. If you're a first-time listener, this podcast is the podcast where Aaron and I bring a different video game topic to the table every week, and we discuss it until there is nothing left to discuss about it.
That's right. We're gonna talk about this topic until it's just we're beating a dead horse, basically. But
yeah, essentially, yeah. We beat the dead horse of every single video game topic until there are no horses left. What's Aaron picked the topic this week, and what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about the PlayStation 1, because that was just a wild and wacky era for video games.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have a lot to talk about. Our very first episode was about the Wii, and for that one I had more memories than more memories of playing it than the experience around it. And I feel like with the PlayStation it's the opposite. I have more memories of the experience around it than actually playing all the games for it.
Oh yeah, about the same too. It was just, oh gosh, there's so much cool stuff we're going to talk about. It's truly a wild and wacky time.
Yes. Where are we going first, Aaron?
So the first is basically how the PlayStation came to be, which was basically when around the time of the Super Nintendo, Sony and Nintendo were going to collaborate and make this like a CD-ROM peripheral for the SNES, kind of like the Sega CD. But then Nintendo went all, nah, dog, and they didn't want to, and then PlayStation was like, well, fuck you then, and then they made their own console, and it just ended up blasting them out of the water maybe 2 or 3 generations in a row.
I remember reading about that in college, how it was like it was the Nintendo PlayStation, and
Yeah.
there was one prototype that exists in the world, and I thought it was like fake. I was like, that's like the two of the biggest guys working together in the 90s, and I was like, what? No, that didn't happen. But it did. We almost had a Nintendo PlayStation.
It's what's also kind of cool too is that one the prototype actually surfaced on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
I think like a year ago or something like that, and it sold for obviously a shit ton of money because yeah, Nintendo or PlayStation fans would definitely pay shit tons of money just to have that in their collection. Like, oh, have you ever played a Nintendo PlayStation? Neither have I, but I have it.
Yeah, there's like obviously the booming video game collecting market, but that's like a real genuine collectible.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, that generation, well, I guess the PlayStation in general was just it was like the wild west of gaming, because as far as games go, I felt like Sony was all just like they were throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what stuck. They were just like, hey, have you got a game? We'll make it and we'll release it.
Yeah,
And they sure did.
I have a question for you, which is something that kind of blew my mind when I read about it. This is something new I learned while just reading about the PlayStation. So, I want you to name a video game developed by Sony for the PlayStation.
I'd probably have to look that
There
up.
isn't one.
Or really?
Yeah, it's all third parties. They signed Psygnosis, but that's not an internal developer. They didn't have any internally developed games for the PlayStation. Like, just think about all the PlayStation games. They're all third parties.
Really?
Isn't that crazy?
I guess yeah. I was looking at Twisted Metal because I thought for sure that was, but nope. It was developed by Single Track.
Yeah. They just went to like
Wow.
hundreds of developers in Japan and America and were like, you want to make games for this? Because we'll publish whatever. Yeah, like you said, whatever you want. But they never made any games themselves for the PlayStation.
That's so crazy. Well, yeah, and then now that's like all they do.
Yeah.
It's just yeah.
That's why you get a PlayStation, is for the Sony developed games.
Oh man, I remember there way too many weird games to talk about, but like one of my favorite ever to talk about with the PS1 is LSD Dream Simulator. That thing is just. Have you heard about that one, Tom?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen a couple YouTubers play it.
It's just it's crazy.
Honestly, it's scary to me. That's just a scary looking experience.
And it's different every
Unsettling.
time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's way advanced for the time.
The I guess yeah, a lot of their weird games are like that too. Because there's also one. Let me find the title again. Deception Invitation. Or no. Um. Yeah, no, that's right. Yep. The Deception Invitation to Darkness. Basically, like you're in charge of this big ass castle, and people are always trying to break into it. And basically, you, the player, have to stop people from breaking into it, like knights and shit like that. So you have to like set up traps and stuff, and it's
So it's like a tower defense?
kind of, but they're
Okay.
all inside of your castle
Oh.
mansion thing.
I feel bad because my PlayStation growing up, I literally only remember Crash Bandicoot games. We had every Crash Bandicoot, Crash Team Racing, Crash Bash, and I don't remember playing anything else. And like growing up, seeing everyone's love for the PlayStation being the endless JRPGs and Twisted Metal, Tomb Raider, Metal Gear Solid, and I was like, man, I didn't.
Pyro.
Yeah, Spyro. I didn't play any of those, but I loved my PlayStation for Crash Bandicoot.
Well, that's fun too. I mean, that's probably what a lot of people got their PlayStation for was for Crash Bandicoot. Because yeah, that was the era of him trying to
The era
basically
of him.
topple Mario, not Mario. Jesus, trying to topple Mario.
That was fun. That was fun. Competitor rivalries. I don't. So like, do you have any memories of being like, oh man, Sony is entering the video game space? Because I don't. But apparently, like that was obviously the thing is like Sony's making a console. But like my memories are just this thing exists and it plays games. Cool.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I think that was like around the time the PlayStation came out. I was way too young to understand what was even happening with video games. I'd just
Yeah.
be like, oh, video games, goo goo gaga.
I
I'd
press
play
buttons and it does thing.
it. Red man jump and die.
Oh, speaking of, just another sign of how different video games were back then. It released in December 1994 in Japan and September 1995 in America and Europe. So that's like 9 months later. Could, that just could not happen.
Whole baby
today.
later.
A whole baby later.
Whole baby cooking in that oven.
We had to wait for the North American version to be birthed.
What did you ever use the little user menu thing in the PlayStation?
Yeah, when you like didn't put a disc in.
Yeah, oh my god, that's the most 90s thing I've ever seen. It reminded me of those like fast food cups that you would get in the 90s. They were like teal and they had that stripe going through them.
Oh yeah, the Jazz.
Is
The
that
name of
what it
that
was?
design is Jazz.
Okay, yeah, it reminds me of that, and like that's the most 90s thing I can remember as well.
Everything about the PlayStation is so 90s. Like the advertisements to the. I've talked about it before, but that demo disc that just had the off-brand Metallica shredding music throughout the whole video of games. I was like, yeah.
It was also again into the whole toppling Mario thing. It was also there was so many different like platforming mascot characters trying to become like the next Sonic and like Mario and shit like that. Because like there was Jersey Devil, Mort the Chicken, Punky Skunk. There was a bunch.
I don't
Oh
know
my
any of
gosh.
those. You could just be making these up.
No, they're all. I only know them because of Nitro Rad on YouTube.
I just love that was the thing. Like, you got a console, you have to have a platformer mascot. You have to.
That's true.
Nothing else matters.
But I guess yeah, Crash kind of became their Mario. I mean, yeah, they were pretty good.
And the thing with Crash 2 was it was like more difficult. It was for adults, not little babies like Mario. It was actually challenging and like almost painfully challenging at points.
The emphasis on the painful part. I remember getting so goddamn pissed over that game so many times. Like especially like the bonus levels, those
Oh my gosh.
like you'd spawn into them, jump once and then die, and I'd just be like, oh, okay, well that happened.
Yeah, and then you can't save your game.
Yep.
Have I talked about that on the show? The ridiculous way to save games in Crash Bandicoot?
I don't think so.
Oh man, get this, kids. So you know how games nowadays just auto save wherever, or you can just hit save whenever? Not on Crash Bandicoot. In random levels, or like it was set, but it wasn't every level. In some levels, hidden throughout the level would be crates that had a bonus icon in it. And going through the level, you had to collect 3 bonus icons, and that would work you to a bonus stage, which is just left to right, but there's like challenges in between. It's a giant pit that you have to make it across by jumping on boxes usually. And if you make it through that bonus level, then you get to save your game. If you die
Oh my god.
in the bonus level, if you die before collecting things to get to the bonus level, you don't get to save your game.
Ugh, that sounds.
And the later levels were so hard.
So you had to go through that bullshit just to save your game?
Yeah, or you could go back to an earlier level, an earlier bonus stage.
That's. I'm shaking my head in disgust. It's wild. Even fucking Donkey Kong Country lets you just save right there on the world map. What?
Yeah.
Why crash? Why crash? Why?
But the save icons for PlayStation games, when you would go into the menu and just see them all spinning around, those were all super cool. That's super
Yes.
90s.
That's all. Yeah. What was also super cool was you could pop in like a CD and play it on there too with
Yep.
that Super 90s interface, and you could pop in like Nickelback or No Doubt or whatever the hell you had at the time.
I had Nickelback and
No Doubt.
this is the 90s, right? Gosh,
Yes.
I didn't have CDs yet.
Oh. I only got CDs as like stocking stuffers, and there were ones that I didn't really. I didn't want. Like I think I told you about the Backstreet Boys one I got for Christmas
Yep.
as a stocking stuffer once. Yep.
I had
Nickelback.
I had the cassette to the soundtrack of Space Jam. That's what I listened to in the 90s on my little cassette player.
God damn, that's a good one.
That's 90s right there. Cool boy.
If you wanna jam. God damn.
What was I gonna say? Shoot. Oh, in reversing too, you could put PlayStation discs in your CD player and listen to music from the games.
What? Really?
Yeah. I had NASCAR '99 or something, and I put it in my CD player just for fun, and it played the soundtrack of the game.
That's cool as fuck. I
Right?
didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Double duty. Wait, and so all you played on that was Crash Bandicoot?
And now I'm remembering NASCAR
NASCAR.
and MLB '99, obviously. Which, shout out to people listening to this. Please go to the Super Pod Saga YouTube channel and watch Aaron attempt to play MLB '99.
And you can see, and you can see Tommy playing one of the weirdest other PS1 games. No one can stop Mr. Domino.
That one's not as important. I was crying at work while watching Aaron play MLB '99.
It didn't make it clear that I didn't assign a team to myself.
It did.
It didn't do it.
It was right there. You just had to move left or right. You just kept the controllers in the middle, and you're like, play.
I just wanted to play the fucking game.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, Crash Bandicoot games, and I remember MLB, and I remember NASCAR.
I remember, so we got our PlayStation 1 from, my stepdad used to work at this trucking company in Akron, and one of the guys was like, hey, I'll give you this big black box with a PlayStation full of just random ass games for $100, and he was like, hell yeah. So we had, what was it, we had Final Fantasy 7 and 8,
Oh dang.
Resident Evil 1 and 2, there was a lot of random bullshit, Kingsfield 1 and 2, Darkstone, there was a bunch of stuff, so I played a pretty hefty amount of different odd stuff. My favorite was Darkstone, not because of it being good, because it was a pile of crap. I remember just blasting spells as soon as I spawned in, and the dude would just be like, I do not have enough mana. And he would say it like that too, like, I do not have enough mana.
So you,
That was great.
boy, so that really influenced your gaming things, I feel like, especially the Final Fantasies. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Kingsfield, that was made by FromSoft.
Yep.
Whoa.
They FromSoft also had another series on the PlayStation called Echo Night, which were like these like first person kind of paranormal survival horror kind of things too, and those were pretty great as well too.
I had no idea they were making games back then. I thought they started
Yeah.
with Dark Souls. Look at me being a dummy.
You goddamn nerd, Tommy.
But yeah, for me, the Crash Bandicoot games were great, but they were difficult. The NASCAR and MLB games like really shaped my sports loving self growing up because it was like this. Oh, and Madden. I had the Madden with Dante Culpepper on the cover from the Minnesota
Oh.
Vikings, so that was exciting as a kid. But yeah, being able to simulate sports events and just be able to watch quote unquote sports whenever I want was just huge for me. I would simulate seasons in Madden and like keep track of the stats and the stories, and I would like write game recaps. And baseball, I would just, yeah, same thing, just simulating stuff. I spent so much time not even really playing the games, but just loving the simulations and the stats and everything. And boy, has that not changed in my life.
That's true. Because what was in the weird gameplay mechanics? What was that one you were talking about where you had to like it was like Persona but football, college football?
That was
It's like
more. That was,
NCAA.
yeah, that was Xbox 360 era.
Oh, duh. Yes, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
No, no, it's okay. I forgive you.
Yeah, I'd say the PlayStation kind of helped shape me then too. Because yeah, the first game I ever bought myself was from the PlayStation One. Obviously, it was Final Fantasy IX, like I've said in literally every episode of the show, and yeah, that had a pretty huge impact on me. And then, oh my gosh, so another story from my childhood. On the weekends, I'd go to my dad's house. He had to work every now and again, so he would find somebody to watch us. He dropped us off at a friend's house, who had a PlayStation as well, and he had this game called Parasite Eve 2. And me and my brother, we were like, oh, this looks fun. And it was like a survival horror RPG kind of thing, but there were these like spooky, like zombie camel things that were charging at us and killed us. We were like, no, no, we're not playing this anymore. Turn it off.
I remember
So good.
going to a cousin's house and watching his parents play Final Fantasy VII, and I thought it was the most boring game I had ever seen in my life. It was so much talking and talking and talking, and like the combat was just doing menus. And they were like, wait till we do this, and they did Knights of the Round, and it took like 20 minutes, and I was like,
Really
I don't even know what's happening.
Oh my gosh. It really did take like 20 minutes.
Oh, here's
There was-
here's. Sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, some of the. It's weird too how many games or series from that console are also still sort of around today, and I say sort of because they keep getting remade and rebooted and stuff. But like Twisted Metal, that one's still around. Tomb Raider,
Tomb Raider,
Crash Bandicoot,
Gran
obviously-
Turismo.
yeah, Gran Turismo, and then there's a bunch of weird ones we'll get into later. But yeah, it's cool that like so many of those I guess like defining series are still popping today. Pretty
Here's
sweet.
something I wrote down about the games on the PlayStation, and I want your opinion. To
Yes.
just like looking at the games that came out on the PlayStation, I feel like the PlayStation is kind of like the turning point where games became more for adults, because before the PlayStation, it was like Nintendo and Sega, and they were obviously Mario and Sonic, and games were more cartoony. They were more quote unquote kid friendly. There was obviously serious ones, but the main draw of it was like these Mario experiences. And then PlayStation came with like Metal Gear Solid, which is like a movie and a game, and Final Fantasy VII, which is a grand adventure, and Tomb Raider. And it just felt like it pushed video games into growing up.
Yeah, I'd say that too. Yeah, especially like Final Fantasy, especially with Seven, got pretty damn mature. Obviously not like rating wise, but yeah, like storytelling and like tone wise, it was pretty grim. And then yeah, there were games they were definitely more adult oriented on the PlayStation than they were on previous generations for sure. I agree with that.
And I remember hearing about this is unrelated, but it just popped into my head. game journalists at the time, Final Fantasy VII, like the PlayStation itself, came out in Japan months before it came out in America, so they would have it shipped to them in America, and they would play it in Japanese despite not knowing Japanese.
What the hell?
Because it was a big deal. It was it was getting crazy good review scores in Japan, so they're like, well, we gotta play it, even if we don't understand it.
Yeah. That's insanity. Like the story is probably one of the main reasons people love that game so much.
Yeah. I've never been able to get into it. I've tried. I'm sorry, people.
That's all right. It's okay. We still love you. Did you ever play, or I shouldn't. We already know you haven't played some of these, but have you ever heard, I should say, of a game called Pepsi Man?
Yes, I've seen YouTubers play Pepsi Man.
Yes. Oh my God, that's one of those weird games that's just like, it's so weird that it exists. Because, kids, for those that don't know, Pepsi Man used to be the mascot for Pepsi. He would just run, and he would drink a Pepsi.
I have no memory of that.
I think it was, but no, I think it was in the U.S. and Japan. I think, but
it could be. I just don't have any memories of Pepsi Man. It's terrifying. But yeah, gosh, so many weird games on the PlayStation. I love it.
All right, Tommy, I also want you to go on Google or Bing or whatever you use.
I ask
and
Jeeves.
Yeah, I go on Dogpile. Sorry. I want you to look up the game Vib Ribbon.
I'm going to actually use Ask Jeeves for this. Vib Ribbon, because we're in the 90s.
Okay. Oh man, yeah, I should have pulled up. I can't think of any other ones from the 90s. I think Dogpile was from the early 2000s.
Vib Ribbon. What is this like? Runs through a loop, one of the game's basic obstacles. What is this?
You just look at the images. It's just the wildest and wackiest shit you've ever seen. Like, it doesn't make
I don't know. I've seen some wild and wacky stuff.
And then, then there was that game I was telling you about one time in our chat, Hogs of War, or Hogs of Warfare or whatever, which is basically like, it's like a third-person Worms, but with pigs. And it's great.
Oh, I love these PlayStation graphics. It's so blocky. What was the series with the Green Army Men?
Oh, it was just Army Men, Sergeant's Heroes or something like that.
Yeah, that had like 20 games on the PlayStation. They just kept making them.
That was like the biggest series in the world around that time, and then it just kind of like wet fart sounded itself into obscurity.
People loved it. My cousins had every one of them.
My brother and I played the one on the N64, and yeah, it was pretty fun. They just milked the absolute shit out of it until there was nothing left to spoot out of it, I guess.
The crazy thing for me that I think people don't remember about the PlayStation is like, we've kind of talked about this before, but the control scheme for games wasn't the same for every game. So like, I remember playing shooters, like third-person shooters or first-person shooters, where the stick wasn't invented yet, the right control stick. So to turn left and right, you would hold the left and right, L1 and R1, to slowly rotate left and right. And that's just how you controlled it. It did not feel good.
Because I remember getting used to that too, because everything else was just D-pad A and B, but this motherfucker was like, there was L1 R2, R1 R2, and X, square, circle, triangle, and
yes,
the games
X.
be like press circle to cancel. Be like, what? Who? That's not B.
Oh well, in PlayStation 1 at least, triangle was the back button for American games.
Oh,
I remember
gosh.
you had to do that in MLB 99 once. You were like, "Oh, triangle is back," and I was like, "Yeah, man."
Oh, dude, remember. And then in Final Fantasy VII, circle was to select, and then X was to back out.
Oh, nightmare! Complete nightmare. No wonder I couldn't play it.
You remember when games were like 2 or 3 discs long, maybe even more, even 4?
I heard of that happening, but I never personally experienced it.
Oh, you never got to experience the multi-disc case?
Nope.
Oh, Tommy. Oh man. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII was 3 discs. Final Fantasy VIII was 4 discs. Final Fantasy IX was 4 discs, and there were multiple other games that were multiple discs. But basically, you get this fat fucking jewel case, basically the size of like two jewel cases stacked together. And so you open it, and on that very first flap, I guess, would be a disc, and then there'd be this like little plastic holder in the middle, and it would hold the discs and your manuals, and then oh my gosh, oh what a great awful time.
Here's a thought that I just had. I think opening a PlayStation 1 case is the best case to open.
I agree with that. Except
That's
for when they get damaged, like one of the hinges comes off, then it's a nightmare.
or it gets or it isn't aligned properly. But besides that, this is great to talk about on a podcast. The feel of opening a PlayStation case.
Those are one of the many senses that you can't experience.
Those were good cases. I just had another memory, so I'm just going to talk about it. I had NBA 97 or something, another sports game that I forgot about until right now, and I just found it's another thing that I just found stupid ways to play games because I was alone. I was an only child in a small Iowa town. I would play two players, and since I couldn't like control both at the same time, I would just pass the ball in and shoot right away, even though it was like a full court shot. And I would just, wherever there would be a rebound, I would shoot again. And I would just pass, shoot, pass, shoot, pass, shoot. And I'd be like, I'm having fun.
This is fun.
And I remember going to a cousin's, that same cousin that had the PlayStation. I went over there a lot. And he had his friends over, and I brought my NBA, and I was like, watch, you can play NBA two players by just yourself. And they actually got into it too, and I was like, it is fun. Because each player's just chucking full court shots, and like 1 in every 20 would go in, and we'd be like, ah!
Oh my god. That's awesome.
And, sorry, they only had one animation for a made basket. It didn't like go off the backboard or bounce around. It only was a swish every time, so that made it like super satisfying. Just a long throw and a perfect splash into the net.
Oh, when you say that, this isn't related to the PlayStation at all, but do you remember in like middle school or high school when we would play those like typing games in computer class? There was that basketball one where you like type a word and he fucking dunks the ball, and he'd be like nothing but net.
Yes. I do remember those typing games. There was a space one too, and I don't remember how it works, but it's on the edge of my memory.
And then there was that one where this was probably in elementary school, but that one where you climbed that like snowy mountain. I forget what it was. It was made by Sierra. That's all I remember.
Oh man, Sierra made the best school games.
They really did, dude.
I remember the Incredible Machine.
I don't remember.
There was, oh my gosh, in like the elementary school computer, there was this weird cheerleading game where you would make routines for them to do, and I could never figure it out.
Man, remember Accelerated Reader and being like, oh man, I'm gonna earn enough points to get that sweet remote control car that can go up walls.
Yeah.
And then I'd just be like, I don't want to wait anymore. I want that I want that inflatable beach ball now.
I wanted a remote controlled car as a kid so bad, because it's the coolest thing in the world, and my parents got the best one they could afford, which was a wired remote control car. The car was connected to the controller. It had a wire that connected from the car to the controller thing, so I had to run along with it as I was driving it.
Oh man, oh Tommy, you had the best childhood, truly.
Yeah. Okay, I will say, just like having not the best stuff, really, like, I don't know, it makes you appreciate the good stuff more. I really appreciate my Xbox Series X and all the crazy stuff it does.
I didn't, man, I'm stumbling all over the place here. I kind of feel that too, because we grew up pretty broke, and the only way I could get new games was either Christmas gift cards or the rare trip to GameStop. But now, like, I'm buying whatever the hell I want.
I know.
I got the hell out of there, and I can buy whatever I want now. God damn it, I'm a man.
But I don't have time, Aaron. I don't have the time I had when I was a kid, where I could just sit in my room and pass, shoot for hours on end.
Oh, man. Oh, what a great time that was. And then, do you remember Parappa the Rapper?
I remember it, but I never experienced it as a kid. I saw it on a demo disc. It wasn't playable on that demo disc. There was a video of it.
that was such a wild game too, with the onion guy and the karate gi. Like I never played it either. Just seen many people play it, and
That was one of the highest reviewed PlayStation games too.
there were a lot of. It's just that whole era or that whole generation really. There was just a lot of weird shit coming out that actually I guess kind of shaped games today. Because I guess without all those weird games, we wouldn't have found out really what sticks and what doesn't.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
obviously, LSD Dream Simulator does not stick, or Pepsi Man.
Or You Can't Stop Mr. Domino.
Oh man, you had fun. Admit it.
Oh, I actually had a lot of fun. It was too difficult, but
Yeah.
it was genuinely fun and a very unique experience. There is nothing like No One Can
Oh,
Stop
man.
Mr. Domino.
Fat Tony's Casino, everybody. You know
Welcome.
you love it.
Grab a seat.
Oh shit.
That's a reference for the video people. You have to watch it to understand it.
That's right. Here's another one for Mr. at Sega Blocks. If you're listening to this, at Blocks Sega, we're gonna shout out Toomba, everybody. Toomba. That was a series on the PlayStation that was really popular and then just kind of faded. But yeah, Toomba 2.
Toomba, was that a platformer?
Yeah, I've never played it, but it looks pretty fun. Like it's just just usual platformer with a little caveman guy and.
Hey, I'm gonna take an ad break.
Okay.
Hey, don't you people have cell phones? Yes, everyone has cell phones. And Aaron, what happens when you drop your cell phone?
It breaks.
Yes, it breaks. So that's why you put a phone case on your phone, right? Right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Everyone's got a phone case on their phone. What happens when you drop your phone with your phone case?
You dropped the phone case?
It damages the phone case. So we have partnered with Cell Phone Case Case. It is a case for your cell phone case to protect the case so that it doesn't get damaged when you drop it. This is revolutionary technology. It will keep your cell phone case safe from getting damaged. We also have screen protector protectors that you put over your screen protector so that it doesn't get scratched. And in case you want any more security, we have a phone case to protect your phone case. These are like the highest protection you can possibly imagine for your phone. Screen protectors as well. Just stack them on top of each other. You can't see the screen as well, and the phone gets too big for your pocket, but it's safe. It won't get damaged. Check out Cell Phone Case. They paid us $1 million for this.
Oh man, that is a good one. Do that phone. Oh my gosh, yeah, it definitely won't fit in your pocket, but by God, it's not gonna fucking break when it hits that concrete.
I used to be against cell phone cases and screen protectors.
Because they were so big.
Well, yeah, and I was like, why would I buy a phone just to cover it in something? I don't know. That was weird. Now I use cell phone cases because these are so fragile. But
That's true. Yeah, because back in the day, if you had your big old fat boy Nokia flip phone, you could drop that thing out of an airplane and let it hit the ground, and it'd be fine. If anything, it would destroy the ground it landed on.
yeah,
like
for
the
sure,
Hulk jumping onto the ground.
for sure.
How about here's another good obscure game for. Actually, no, you should. Oh my gosh, you
I've got
should
something.
go for it. I just had the name of the game I wanted you to look up again, but I lost it. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
That's okay. So, my dad, thinking back to him being a gamer, he didn't play a lot of games. Like, he didn't play the NBAs or the Maddens or the MLBs. But, I have these memories of him just getting super into something. Like, one thing and just being super into it. And I remember he came home one day and was like, I got a Lethal Weapon. No. What's the Bruce Willis movie with the Nakatomi Tower?
Yeah, that's Die Hard.
Die Hard, thank you. He was like, I got Die Hard 1 and 2, I think he said. And I was like, oh, okay. And he popped the disc open, put a toothpick in there, put a different game in there, and it started, and then he switched it out real quick. And I was like, what was that, Dad? And he was like, I burned the game onto the CD.
What the fuck?
And I was like, oh. And I read about it later, and the PlayStation discs were just normal CD discs. And
Oh.
in order to verify it at the the game would do, like, you know, those beginning screens, the ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba, those. That was the PlayStation would authenticate that it's a PlayStation disc. But after that authentication, you can switch it out with anything and it'll play it. So you just have to play a regular PlayStation game, then you can switch it out with a disc that you burned onto a regular old CD.
That's awesome.
And he did that for Die Hard 1 and 2.
Why couldn't he just buy him?
Because we lived in rural Iowa.
Oh, I guess that's true.
And like I said, he just gets super into things. Like, he was like, apparently you can do this, so I'm gonna do it.
Why did he want Die Hard 1 and 2 so bad for the PS1? Were they just
he loves those movies.
Oh, I gotcha. Did he go out and buy the official Die Hard 1 and 2 Bruce Willis jean jacket and an official Pepsi flavor or something?
No, but he had a Bon Jovi jean jacket.
Your dad is the fucking coolest.
I wish. He is much less cool nowadays. Gosh. We don't need to get into that.
Oh, so the game I wanted you to look up, it's called Tobal 2.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
And it's a fighting game, basically, where you capture creatures just to fight them.
Oops, I typed Trobal. Oh, look at that hair. Oh, I don't like the face he's making.
Like, basically, like, yeah, you fight monsters, and then you can capture monsters just to fight them. Had like around 200 characters you could choose to play from, because yeah, you would just capture all sorts of motherfuckers and just beat the shit out of them.
Nice. What? Gosh darn it. I had something, it's gone.
You could also look up Darkstone.
Darkstone. These are the names of video games.
That was the one where I would spawn, blast out my spells, and he'd just be like, I do not have enough mana.
All it's doing is showing wallpapers of gray rocks.
Oh, yeah, that's fine then. Basically like Diablo, if Diablo
this looks boring.
Really sucked. Yeah.
There we go, now I see games. Oh man. I miss the PlayStation, the manuals. I miss PlayStation manuals. I read the crap out of those.
Yeah. They had everything in the manuals. They had you open it up and it's like, hey, thanks for buying our game, brah. You know, here's to you, and then there'd be like the introduction to the story and the characters.
Yeah, little biographies.
You know how to play the game, and then it'd be like, oh, here's some hints and tips, and there was a notes section that I used quite often because I'm a total fucking nerd.
I was just gonna say that I'd never used the notes section, and I was confused about what it was for.
I used it all the time, but mostly just because I would get sidetracked with like side stuff if a game had side stuff, or like if there's something important I wanted to jot down and not forget, because I would sometimes, like I do now, I'd hop from game to game, and then I'd come back to it and be like, well, where am I supposed to go? But not back then, because I'd read it down.
The Crash Bandicoot 1 manual had like a guide for the first 2 levels in it too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was not a lot, just being like, there was like a paragraph or 2 just telling you where to go and what to do.
Oh man, did you? No, I already know I shouldn't ask you like that, but yeah, did you ever later on in your life get to play Resident Evil 1 on the PS1?
Of course not. No, I don't play scary games.
I just thought you might have, maybe, but
no, I do not play any scary games.
I added like 1 or 2 to the list of games you're gonna play. God damn it. But no, one of the coolest things about the PlayStation was like, that was, I guess, around the time they started doing, they started adding voiceovers and stuff like that. So Resident Evil for sure had some of the campiest, just awfulest voice acting ever. And I guess
they do. I've seen videos of it, and it's like far worse than you can possibly imagine. Imagine the worst voice acting. I don't want to be mean because these are actual people, but oof.
Right. That's why I had to use the word awfulest right there too. It's not even a word, but I had to get that out of there to describe it. Like one of my favorite parts with the worst voice acting is, I think it's like right at the beginning when they get into that big mansion. They're like, Barry, where's Barry, sounding like Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle, really really forcing it, like he was just running, but he really wasn't. Just sounds like he has one lung. Great.
Hold on. I'm. Hold on 1 second. I'm googling something.
I'm holding.
I want to see if this existed. No, there was never a Malcolm in the Middle game.
There should have been. That'd have been awesome. Oh my gosh.
Big missed opportunity there.
I was binging that show, I think like a month after we started doing the podcast, and they play Sega a lot in that fucking show. Like once or twice you see the Sega Saturn, they're playing Sonic R, and then another couple other times you see them playing Dreamcast and they're playing like Crazy Taxi or something. It's like, yeah, of course the cool show would play the cool kid console.
I'm assuming you're like me, and every time in a TV show or movie someone plays a video game, you have to know what they're playing, and you like judge. Yes. You judge how they're using the controller, because a lot of the time they just hit buttons randomly, and they're obviously not playing anything. And I'm like, you're a terrible actor.
Yeah, like they'll be playing a racing game, but they'll be sitting there like moving the stick left and right, and then tapping like every single button. It's like, stop it.
Moving their hands up and down and around.
They're hanging upside down on the couch. They're just kind of like moving the controller with their bodies. They sway back and forth. Like, stop it.
I want to read this section of a Crash Bandicoot manual, and as I'm reading it, I want you to imagine what Crash Bandicoot game you think it is. Uka Uka, the evil twin of Aku Aku, both ancient witch doctor spirit, has thrown down a final challenge to his brother. This challenge will decide the fate of the world once and for all. Will Aku Aku's eternal light prevail, or will Uka Uka command a forever darkened world? The challenge is a contest of various arena-based battles.
Was it Crash Bash?
Yeah, it's Crash Bash, but they just like they give this like background story of like this will decide the fate of the world. It's arena-based battles.
The fate of the world. Yeah, if you can't beat me in this button mashing contest in Mario Party, I'm gonna burn down your house. The fate of my family depends on it.
Aku Aku unveils his team. Crash Bandicoot, his brainy little sis Coco, and Tiny and Dingo Dial. Yup, you heard that right. They have been persuaded to leave Cortex's side and join forces with Crash.
I forgot about all the sweet characters there were from that series. Dingo Dial, dude. Oh my god.
Half dingo, half crocodile.
I remember in I think no, this one wasn't for the PS1. It was Crash Tag Team Racing, where you could like master two vehicles together and shit. Tiny was, I think, voiced by Mr. T, or he was voiced to sound like Mr. T. like, take that meat back. It was great.
Tiny was my favorite of the Crash Bandicoot characters because he was one of the fastest in Crash Team Racing.
Dude, I would use him.
Couldn't turn worth a crap, but
no.
Boy was he fast.
It was who was the doctor with the missile stuck in his head?
That's oh my gosh.
Cortex is the main bad guy, right?
Yeah, there's Cortex, and then there's N-Brio. It's not N-Brio, is it? Why can't I think of this? I feel so bad.
Fuck it. Crash villains.
I know, I'm Googling it too. N. Jin.
Oh.
Dr. N. Jin.
God damn it. We were so close.
And don't forget Dr. N. Tropy.
Oh yeah, that was from the Crash 3, wasn't it?
Yeah. Uka Uka is just Aku Aku backwards for those who, you know, are into that kind of thing, I guess.
What, the Domino's Noid was in a Crash Bandicoot game?
What? What?
Hold on. Oh wait, never mind. He was just in a stupid. Wait.
Yeah, what does this have to do with Crash Bandicoot? I'm seeing it too. It's on.
Oh, he was just in a Crash Bandicoot on the Run mobile game or some shit like that.
I played that. I played that for a long time.
God, I'm so disappointed.
I know, but it was. I don't know, man. I want a new Crash Bandicoot. It was an endless runner, like a Temple Run, but Crash Bandicoot themed.
I guess that kind of fits his game style.
Mm-hmm. It was okay. I haven't played Crash Bandicoot 4 though, because it's not on Game Pass.
Well, I don't see why it's not.
Right?
What's
Every game should be
I
on
had
Game Pass.
I had so many other games in my mind that I wanted to talk about, but it's so early that we're doing this. I forgot. Oh, oh man, Xenogears, the game that basically started the whole Xenoblade, and I
Wait,
guess
really?
the Xeno Saga as well. But yeah, Xenogears.
That started on PlayStation?
Yeah. What's weird about that one too is so I mean it's an awesome game, but I guess like due to budget restraint or yeah budget cuts and a bunch of other or yeah budget cuts and like a big old time crunch, they had to basically scrap I think it was like the second half or the second third of the game instead of actually being the rest of Xenogears. It was instead like a visual novel kind of thing,
Wait,
and
really?
and that sucked. Yeah.
Wait, sorry, you said the final third of the game was a novel?
Yeah, it was so the second disc, I believe it was, because again due to budget cuts and time crunches and shit like that, they had to hurry along to finish the rest of the game. So instead of making it like the rest of the game, like Xenogears, they instead had to cut it down to like a visual novel kind of thing where you just read text and shit, and that told like the rest of the story and whatnot.
That is wild.
It sucks, man. You know what could have fucking been? Like, it could have been great, because the rest of the game was awesome because it was just the story was like really really good. They were like just it was just loaded with mysteries and shit, and then the combat was basically like a mix of a turn-based game and a fighting game because you would push buttons to do a combo, and then there were parts where you could go into a fucking mech suit and just tower over other enemies and like little monsters on the field and shit. Then again,
Yeah.
fighting game style stuff. You just fight other mechs, and it was great. And then you get to the second disc, and it's just like here's a bunch of text, I guess.
One of my friends gave me a Gran Turismo, and you can't start racing until you earn your license by doing
Oh yeah.
all these little challenges. I couldn't do it. I never. There was one that was just a circle. The track was just a circle, and I could not stay on the track while also like getting the time that you needed. I kept going off the side, or I kept being too slow. It was way too realistic.
Oh, that reminds me of the Driver series. I forget exactly which one we used to play, but there was one Driver game on PS1 that was basically we didn't have Grand Theft Auto because we sucked. So we had Driver, and you could just run around, jack cars, and like crash them and like ramp them and stuff like that, and that was great. That's basically Grand Theft Auto now, but it was great.
I was just gonna say, isn't it Grand Theft Auto was on the PlayStation, but it was not the Grand Theft Auto of today, right?
No, yeah, it was top down
Oh my
and
gosh,
like
so
and
weird.
2D or yeah, top down like 2D basically.
A top-down crime game, and then they made one for DS
Right.
that was
Yeah.
the same style, right? What a weird.
Yeah, the Chinatown Wars or some shit like that.
Gosh, they had a Grand Theft Auto game
Oh.
for DS. That's so weird.
That's right. And then the Persona series started on the PS1, but it didn't get huge until 3 and 4 on the PS2.
Of course. Just
They were
another.
just radically. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say another. I'm looking at the games, and Harvest Moon. That was a game that my cousin had, and we read in the manual that like one of the girls in town would be at a place at a certain time, and we were like, if you go there, is she there? And we went, and she was, and our mind was blown that like a person could be at a place that at a certain time in a certain day of the week. We were like, oh.
Well, yeah, I guess it was about that time they started doing well, no, I guess they've always done night and day cycles in certain games, but yeah, that shit was really really cool. Oh, and Castlevania not Sympathy, Symphony of the Night was first released on the
Sympathy of the
PS1 as well.
Dawn.
Yes. Yeah,
What?
that kicked off the whole Igavania kind of shit, and thank God for that.
So there was okay. I have a question for you.
Yes.
There was a Castlevania for Nintendo 64 as well, but it was like
Ooh.
it was all 3D and stuff.
Yeah,
Why?
Castlevania.
Because the one on the
Uh,
PlayStation was side scrolling, right?
Yeah, Symphony of the Night.
Yeah. Why did they make a 3D one?
They I don't know if Koji Igarashi was on the Nintendo 64 one or not, but um, like Symphony of the Night was when Koji took over and basically like I guess shaped it into what we know now with the whole Symphony of the Night formula where it's just free roaming, like RPG kind of style. But yeah, I looked it up and yeah, he's not anywhere on that. So they probably wanted that to be more of like a traditional Castlevania, like linear stage to stage kind of progression system as opposed to the more exploration based.
I don't know. I see a skeleton on a motorcycle in Castlevania 64.
Oh, that one wins. That's badass.
Obviously, the superior game.
It's crazy how because I mean obviously the PlayStation had just a shit ton of games, but it's wild how some of them just kind of faded into nothing, but then a lot of them are still like they really shaped games today. Like
Yeah.
oh, and then Mega Man Legends 1 and 2. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. And how they will never ever 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 make Mega Man Legends 3 because fuck us, I guess. It's
Yep.
just gonna forever end
You
with Mega Man on the
specifically.
moon. Poor Mega
I've
Man, he's still stuck up there on the moon.
never
Poor guy.
played a Mega Man game.
Never, not a single
Not
one.
even once. Nope. It's just like Castlevania. I've never played a Castlevania either.
Gosh.
I've got these huge blind spots in my gaming history, like massive blind spots.
There's a lot of games we're gonna have to make you play. Like you're gonna have to play
Mhm.
Dino Crisis and Parasite Eve. Um, 'Cause Dino Crisis is essentially Resident Evil but with dinosaurs.
I do like
Um,
dinosaurs.
and so that's gonna be sweet. Then we'll have you play Parasite Eve because it's a like an RPG, turn-based horror game, which is wild.
Oh,
That's cool.
whoa,
Yeah,
that's a lot of words. Are there any? Give me some deck building games. Just kidding, those didn't exist yet.
I'm sure they did, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Just the typical. I'm sure there was a Yu-Gi-Oh game.
Oh, oh, Digimon World. Have you played any of them?
No,
Oh, there was what? Yeah, there was three of them on the PS1. I'm pretty sure, but you really haven't played any of them?
no, I never played any Digimon games because I they were too uncool at our school.
Oh my god, that's true. Yeah, it's wild how we'll circle back to what I'm to another thing I'm going to say, but it's so wild how a lot of the things that we got made fun of for being uncool in school are now like Pokemon. Everybody loves Pokemon now. Everybody's open about it. Like, hey, what's your favorite Pokemon? Go to somebody in the Starbucks. Hey, what's your favorite Pokemon? They're gonna say fucking, they're gonna say Ghastly or something stupid. But back then it was like, what Pokemon? I'm not a nerd. What?
Yeah.
Get
Oh,
out of here.
absolutely. Like, I have two Pokemon masks that I wear or wore, and those got far more compliments than any of my other masks, and that made me special. But yeah, in school, I could not tell anyone that I played Pokemon. Like, it was literally a secret that I had.
Yep. Oh man. But what I was gonna say was that I'm gonna put together a list of I guess another list of games that I experienced and want you to experience for the first time. And I guess you could do the same for me. I'm
Oh,
sure
you
there's a
got
bunch.
sports games coming your way.
Oh man.
You're gonna play NASCAR '99. You're gonna be flirting with disaster, because that's the song that plays every time you get to the menu.
I love all the cheesy songs they put into sports games. Like I remember this one hockey game on the PS1, or maybe it was the PS2. But like as soon as you turn the game on, it's blaring like Black Betty or something. Oh, what game was it? Boy, I'm sure no hockey dudes listen to Black Betty in their spare time.
One of the Tiger Woods games for GameCube, the only licensed song they got was "The Way You Move" by Outkast. So every time you'd go to the menu, that's the song that it would play. What was I gonna say? Just another random '90s PlayStation memory. I spent a lot of time on GameFAQs.com
Oh yeah.
and CheatCodes.com, more specifically. That's where
Oh, I
oh
miss
man,
cheat
CheatCodes.com, and I submitted something to CheatCodes.com that got published for my NBA game. Yeah, I
Oh,
called
really?
it an Easter egg. You could create a player and like customize it and whatever, and if you went in and deleted the player, it would do an animation of the player falling down, which didn't happen anywhere else in the game. So I like submitted it to them. I was like, hey, here's an Easter egg. If you delete your player, they fall down. And they published it. And I felt like the coolest person in the world for having a cheat code or an Easter egg on cheatcodes.com.
That is really cool because that's around the world. People are seeing that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Another cool game for you, Jade Cocoon, and this one was actually Ron from high school told me all about this one. It's basically PlayStation's cooler Pokemon. Jade Cocoon. You just catch monsters in cocoons, I believe it was, and then there was a lot of Pokemon clones on there too. There was Azure Dreams. I forget what the other ones were, but way too many Pokemon clones. They actually did it pretty well though.
I'm just so everyone knows, I went to cheatcodes.com and went to NBA Live 97, and my Easter egg isn't there. They redesigned the page, and it looks like it's not there.
Those sons of bitches.
I know. It's really disappointing.
We'll challenge them to NASCAR 99, and if we win, they have to put it back up.
Yeah. Who even owns cheatcodes.com?
Whoever he is, or she, I bet they're very, I don't want to say rich, but like, what's the middle ground there? They're doing all right.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go into the Wayback Machine and see if I can find it. I'll post it on Twitter if I find it.
Do you remember Wild Arms, the Wild Wild West RPG?
Nope.
What? I'm starting a list right now, Tommy. You're really hurting me.
I would say the same, but I understand you. Oh, look at these little cute little characters.
Yeah, I should say that you're hurting me. My bad. So here we go.
Oh, I didn't finish my sentence. I was gonna say you're hurting me, but I understand why you didn't play sports games back then.
Oh, what else did I say? Parasite Eve. Fuck it, we'll put Toomba on there. I never played a Toomba either, but for the sake of AppBlock Sega, we'll have you play a Toomba. They look fun.
I will say, your recommendation of Final Fantasy IX was a good one. I played most of it and loved it.
There's just so much about Final Fantasy IX that's just perfect, though. Oh my gosh, it's hard to not love that game. The visuals, perfect. I mean, being a late PlayStation game, they kind of had like perfected the technology, but music, perfect. Gameplay, perfect. All the battles, perfect, except for the one in Cooch's Castle where it basically reverses all your stats and makes you like your strongest character your weakest, and then vice versa.
Yeah, I played that a couple years ago, and even playing it for the first time, I was like, wow, this looks good. This looks great for a PlayStation game. How did they do this? Because I was expecting it to look like Final Fantasy VII, which is Block City.
And it's weird because you get Final Fantasy VIII right there in the middle between 7 and 9, and it's like kind of looks like shit, but it kind of doesn't.
Yeah, it makes sense. They polish that turd a bit more. And I'm not saying Final Fantasy VII is a turd. I'm just saying the graphics are very blocky.
Oh, man. Oh, here we go. Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. We'll add that too. Oh man. Yeah, that's I'm basically just going through games and listing off the ones I remember, but that's about all I had.
That's basically it. I mean, I think it's when we talked about the Nintendo Wii, it was just like crazy how much outside of the system and games stuff that Nintendo had with it, with peripherals and crazy things. And PlayStation really was like a console for games. It's not really a big surprise that it was successful and led to more consoles, because they just filled it with games and influential games. And yeah, good. I'm glad that the PlayStation existed.
For real, I can't imagine my gaming taste being the same that they are now without the PlayStation. Because a lot of the games that I play now are, a lot of the games I prefer to play now are ones that I have experienced or played on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
What did during that generation? like I know I didn't know anybody at all that had like a Sega Saturn, but did you know
No.
anybody or even have heard of that fucking thing?
I no, genuinely, I didn't know. I had no thoughts about the Sega Saturn until we did the Sega episode. I could not
Really?
like if you would have told me what came between the Genesis and the Dreamcast. I there's nothing in my brain for that.
Right on. That's I kind of wish I kind of there are times where I wish I could go back in time and be like my adult self, like my 20-year-old self around
Yeah,
that time, because
for
I
sure.
definitely would have wanted to experience more of all these goofy games, especially this like I don't I'm not the biggest fan in the world of the N64. Like it's all right to me. It's got Paper Mario and Mario Party and Mario Kart, but I kind of would have much preferred to have the a lot of the RPGs and shit that you see on the Saturn and the PS1.
Yeah, and it's different playing the games back then than now. Like, I almost feel like you can't play the games now to experience what it was like back then because games are just so much more different, so much more advanced that it just makes them really hard to play.
That and a lot of those games are either like lost to time or like they're just impossible to get because there's a lot of games that we'll never get to play because they're either I mean obviously you can emulate games but that's bad. That's illegal. But it's a lot of games like there's some really expensive games out there like the original Persona on PS1. It'd be cool to own a physical copy of it, but it's like $1,000
Hmm.
and companies well no I guess they have re-released it on the PSP but like that's it.
I really just don't understand why these major video game companies, don't get into emulation. Like, people will pay money for these old games.
For real, just either release your own emulator and let people pay to I guess this would be the fucking virtual console or the PS1
I
classics or
mean,
whatever
yeah,
kind
it
of thing
was. The
but
Virtual Console was great.
like I don't see why they don't do it like I guess it really doesn't it's not oh I'm stumbling on myself again here. It doesn't seem like a lot of work to just rip a ROM off of a fucking CD or something, or I'm not an expert by any means, but it really doesn't seem that hard to rip a ROM off of a game, and then you can just distribute that ROM to people, be like, hey, $5, you can play it, it's yours.
The only
What?
problem is
What do I know?
it's super obvious that Sony is. It's very important to them that they make money and as much money as possible. So I'm sure the math just doesn't add up for the time spent and money made because they can sell The Last of Us for $70,
That's
which
true,
is
which I
unfortunate.
guess, yeah, and kind of good on Microsoft though for making like original Xbox games available
Hmm.
on modern hardware because that's kind of and even like upscaling them and kind of fixing them a little bit like that's really sweet. But sadly, yeah, there's a lot of consoles that have just gone
Yeah.
well consoles and games that have just gone neglected like the GameCube and the Saturn. They're just lost.
Hmm. It's a shame. It's a real shame.
It is.
But yeah, do you have anything else to say about the Sony PlayStation?
Other than we got really oh kind of off topic there, but no, that's yeah, PlayStation 1. I loved it. It was great console. Great.
Yeah, so feel free to reach out on Twitter. We had a let me I say to reach out on Twitter and then I don't actually say people that have because someone actually gave us their top games from each console. So I feel like we should read that.
Oh yeah, and it was one of our good Twitter buddies too.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter to tell us your favorite PlayStation thing. We actually had someone, after listening to our last episode, favorite games on each console, the Elder Trolls Gaming podcast gave us their list of favorite games from each console. So I'm just going to read through that real quick, if that's okay, Aaron.
Yeah.
So, for Nintendo, NES, they picked Super Mario Bros. 2, Game Boy, Pokemon Blue, Super NES, Harvest Moon, PlayStation 1, Final Fantasy 7, Nintendo 64, Zelda, Ocarina of Time, PlayStation 2, Grand Theft Auto 3, PlayStation 3, Uncharted 2. Xbox One/Series X Red Dead Redemption 2, and PS5 Uncharted 4.
I remember that because he replied again and said that he tried really hard to not put Harvest Moon for every single console. I was like, I would have a hard time too.
Uncharted 2, that's a good pick. I really enjoyed Uncharted 2 on the PlayStation 3. That was a big game for me.
By the way, you're an Ocarina guy. I'm an Ocarina guy. I guess tomato.
I am not either of those because I played like the first 40 minutes and then gave up because I was a little baby.
Yeah, I haven't ever played through that game. I got kind of tired of 3D side of games, but we'll save that for another day.
Yeah, so feel free to reach out on Twitter, SuperPod Saga. Tell us about your PlayStation memories or 90s memories even. I love those.
Yes.
You could email us at superpodsaga@gmail.com. We have an Instagram. Guess what? It's called SuperPod Saga. We have a Facebook page, which has followers from Russia now. So
yep.
you can join them. And I'm going to make a TikTok the next time I buy Bond Me. So look forward to that. I know that doesn't make sense now, but it's a good idea. What else?
I also slapped the link tree back into our Twitter and Instagram and Facebook bios. So yeah, if you ever go on there, you can find everything we're on, on Twitter, all that stuff. There's a link to our website as well if you want to listen to all of our stuff on there. And
the YouTube.
Yeah, the YouTube. Yeah, look at our. I need to get the rest of our episodes up on there, but otherwise, yeah, those gameplays they're still coming strong. Tommy's gonna play Castlevania 2 today, aren't you?
Yes, I was going to play it last night, but D&D went until 11:30.
Holy piss.
But would you like to know what we're going to talk about next week?
Yes.
I actually had to look at our past episodes because I had thought we had already talked about this, but we didn't. Unless we did and I just missed it, and let me know, and I've got other topics. I would like to discuss our favorite worlds, the best worlds to explore and just experience, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm talking open worlds, not just the story lore or whatever, but the actual physical worlds to explore.
Oh, I get you. Okay, that makes sense.
So we're going to talk about that next week.
That's going to be a good one.
Look forward to Worlds, baby.
That's right, Worlds the game.
All right, thank you for listening, wonderful listeners. There's more and more of you every week, and I love it.
That's right. Keep interacting with us. And, yeah, again, Linktree, follow that motherfucker. It'll take you to everything we're on. Whatever you want, it's there. If not, let us know, and we'll get on it.
Yeah, okay, bye.